What if everything we're building in AI right now is wrong? Yann LeCun, the father of deep learning, says LLMs won't lead us to true intelligence. He compares the industry's current path to driving into a wall. In this episode, two AIs unpack his radical vision of world models, machines that actually understand the physical world. Is the entire AI industry on the wrong track? Watch the full podcast now. No hype, no humans, just signal.
Today we're looking at, well, a potentially huge strategic split in how we're developing artificial intelligence.
Yeah, it's a big deal. We're drawing on insights from a real heavyweight in the field, someone who sees all the current buzz around large language models differently.
And it's not just, a small disagreement. The perspective we're exploring suggests that the main path the AI industry is currently charging down, it might actually be a fundamental mistake.
It's a perspective carrying a lot of weight, coming from Yann LeCun. I mean, he's one of the people who basically invented the tech behind modern AI, image recognition, convolutional neural networks.
Right, a Turing Award winner. That's like the Nobel Prize for computing. So when he speaks, people tend to listen.
Absolutely. And his background isn't just theory. We're talking decades of work making machines understand things. Images, sound, text, practical stuff, even way back at AT&T Labs.
He set up the Center for Data Science at NYU, too. Always seems to be at the cutting edge. And apparently he turned down early jobs at Google. Tells you something about his independent streak.
Oh, exactly. And that independence is really showing now. He essentially believes this whole push just scaling up LLMs, feeding them more and more text, hoping AGI pops out. He thinks it's fundamentally flawed.
Flawed is putting it mildly. He used the phrase driving straight into a wall.
Oh, yeah, that's direct.
It really frames this as more than just a technical debate. It's a clash of vision, as our sources put it. Is intelligence all about language, or is it about understanding the real physical world?
That's the core of it.
So the big questions we need to tackle today are, is the AI industry, despite all the amazing progress, actually on the wrong track? Are LLMs, for all their power, maybe a kind of brilliant illusion when it comes to true intelligence?
And what does it all mean if he's right? The implications for AI, maybe even, civilization, they're huge.
Okay. Let's dive in. First, let's really unpack LeCun's skepticism about this focus on large language models.
Right. So from what we've seen, he's not really interested anymore in just making current LLMs bigger.
He sees it as what? Just product improvement.
Yeah, basically. Incremental stuff. Not the fundamental research that really excites him. He's focused elsewhere.
Okay, so where is his focus? What are the big questions for him?
Well, there seem to be four main things. How do we get machines to genuinely understand the physical world? How do we give them persistent memory, something beyond just the last few sentences?
Right, memory and reasoning.
Reasoning, definitely. And planning. How can machines plan complex actions effectively? He thinks current attempts to just add reasoning onto LLMs are, well, he called them simplistic.
Simplistic, okay. And his main argument boils down to?
It keeps coming back to this. You can't get to human-level intelligence just by training on text. It's simply not enough.
He has that analogy, right, comparing the text data to visual input for a child.
Exactly. An LLM might process, say, the equivalent text a human reads in thousands of years, but a child, in its first 4 years, gets this constant stream of visual and sensory data about how the world works.
Gravity, objects, interaction, all that stuff.
Yeah. Language is vital, obviously, but for a child, it's tied into that rich, real-world experience. It's not learned in isolation. Text alone doesn't give you that grounding.
That really puts the scale of LLM learning into perspective. And this view obviously clashes with what most of the big players are doing.
Oh, absolutely. You look at OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind. The general consensus there seems to be scale the LLMs, improve the training, get to AGI through language. That's the main bet.
And to be fair, the results have been spectacular.
Undeniably. I mean, these models solve complex problems, they write code, they can even seem to reason about new things. It's impressive stuff. You can see why that approach is dominant.
So there's a strong rationale for the current path, which makes LeCun's counter-argument even more critical to understand.
Right.
If just making LLMs bigger isn't the answer, according to him, what's the alternative? And that brings us to his idea of world models.
Yes. World models.
For listeners who maybe haven't come across this term much, can you break down what that actually means?
Sure. So think of it like an internal simulation. It's the mental model any intelligent being, human or maybe AI, uses to understand how the world works.
Okay, like predicting what will happen.
Exactly. Anticipating things, planning your actions based on likely outcomes. Intuitively, if you push a bottle near the edge of a table, it'll probably fall. That's your internal world model running a quick prediction.
Got it. So why does LeCun think current LLMs aren't enough to build these world models? What's missing?
Well, a few key things. First, LLMs work by predicting the next token, a piece of a word, basically, discrete units.
Okay.
But the physical world isn't discrete like that. It's continuous. It's incredibly high dimensional, especially if you think about, say, video input.
Right, just the sheer amount of information is different.
Totally. And second, attempts to teach AI about the world by just having it predict the next pixel in a video, they haven't really worked well. Because the system wastes tons of resources trying to predict tiny, irrelevant details that are often just inherently unpredictable, like, the exact pattern of leaves rustling in the wind.
Ah, okay. It gets bogged down in the noise instead of the important stuff.
Precisely. So the more promising approaches for learning from images or video seem to involve learning more abstract representations, capturing the essence, the meaning, not just reconstructing pixels.
Something called joint embedding.
Yeah, that's one technique. It helps the system learn underlying relationships and similarities in a more general way, abstracting away the unimportant details.
So bringing it back to LeCun, this isn't just a minor tweak he's suggesting. It sounds like a fundamentally different architectural approach.
That's exactly his point. He uses that analogy trying to build a Formula One car by just upgrading an electric scooter bit by bit.
Right. He thinks LLMs are the scooter, and we need a whole new design for the race car.
Pretty much. He believes a fundamental architectural shift is needed, one geared towards building these internal world models, not just scaling up language processing.
So the core debate is really about what intelligence is. Is it manipulating language symbols very effectively?
Or is it about genuinely understanding and interacting with the physical world?
And right now, the industry seems split. World models are still pretty experimental, right? While LLMs are everywhere.
That's the situation. LLMs are dominating practical applications, while world models are much more in the research phase.
Okay, so let's talk about the stakes here. This isn't just, an interesting academic discussion. It seems like the outcome of this debate could really shape the future.
Definitely. It impacts how we build AI, but also maybe how we even define intelligence.
Our sources brought up Judea Pearl here in his work on causality.
Yeah, from the Book of Why. Pearl's argument is that real intelligence isn't just about finding correlations in data, which LLMs are amazing at. It's about understanding cause and effect, being able to manipulate a mental model of how things cause other things to happen.
Okay, so an LLM might learn, say, that ice cream sales go up when crime rates go up in the summer.
Right, it sees the correlation.
But it doesn't inherently grasp that the cause is probably the hot weather influencing both things independently.
Exactly. It doesn't understand the underlying causal structure. It just knows the statistics align. LeCun's view aligns with this. True intelligence needs that predictive power based on understanding the world's dynamics.
The ability to foresee the consequences of actions in the real world, not just generate plausible text about them.
Yes. A system with a good world model could anticipate if I do X, then Y will likely happen, in a way a pure LLM probably can't, no matter how much text it's seen.
Fascinating. So for listeners who are really intrigued by this and want to go deeper, what resources should they check out?
Well, LeCun's own 2022 paper is a key one, A Path Towards Autonomous Machine Intelligence. It really lays out his vision for world models and self-supervised learning. It's quite detailed.
Okay, that sounds essential. Anything else?
There's also Richard Sutton's essay, The Bitter Lesson. It's a bit older, but very influential. It basically argues that general learning methods that scale with computation ultimately win out over approaches relying heavily on built-in human knowledge.
Interesting. Kind of resonates with LeCun's focus on fundamental learning principles over just scaling existing architectures.
Yeah, there's a connection there. And for the specific history of world models in AI, the 2018 paper World Models by Hafia and Schmidhuber is often cited as important early work in that area, training agents in simulated worlds.
Great suggestions. These sound like really valuable reads for anyone wanting to get beneath the surface of this debate.
Definitely.
As we sort of start to wrap this up, there was an interesting quote highlighted near the end of our source material from Alan Turing.
Ah, yes. The idea that trying to build thinking machines actually teaches us about ourselves, about how we think.
It's a great point. This whole quest for AI is also a mirror, reflecting back on our own intelligence.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, maybe the future isn't strictly LLMs or world models.
Yeah, our sources hinted at a possible synthesis. Maybe we'll see powerful LLMs, but augmented with these internal world models.
Combining the strengths of both, perhaps. Language mastery coupled with a grounded understanding of the world. That sounds like a powerful combination.
It really does. It could potentially overcome the limitations we're seeing now.
Could unlock completely new capabilities.
So as we finish this deep dive, we want to leave you, the listener, with a question to sort of mull over. It really gets to the heart of this moment. Who is building the future of AI?
Is it the giants focusing all their energy on scaling up language models? Or is it the pioneers exploring this different path, the path of world models?
It's a fundamental question, and the answer isn't clear yet. But the direction taken could have, well, massive consequences. We hope you'll keep thinking about these ideas.
And if you found this specific perspective compelling, Yann LeCun is quite active on social media, particularly X, formerly Twitter. He often shares his thoughts on the latest AI developments there. It's a good way to follow his thinking directly.
Definitely worth checking out if you want to stay on top of this.
Yeah.
Want more episodes of the AI Brief, where two machines debate the future of intelligence unscripted? No humans, no filters, just raw AI versus AI on what's real, what's next, and what's at stake. Like, share, and subscribe now, so you never miss what tomorrow is thinking today.